Well, we've been praying for the peace of Jerusalem, and we've been considering some historic facts that you don't often hear about the land. And I've been noting that the term uh, Palestine is actually a derivative of the name Philistine. It's not Semitic, it's not Arabic. It is a reference to the ancient Mediterranean people, a European people who settled in what is now the area of Gaza. And it was first applied to the land, to the whole land, by Hadrian in an anti Semitic manner. It was a form of hate speech against Jews to wipe out their memory and to reclaim the land as Roman, as non Jewish land. And so Jews were exiled from the land from 135 AD to 438. And then again, after the Crusades, when again the Arabs claimed the land exclusively, they didn't want Christians, they didn't want Jews there. The land was vacant of Jewish presence from 1099, the time of the Crusades, to 1187. But here's the point. From in 1889, 30,000 Jews lived in Jerusalem. The total population was only 40,000. So 3 out of 4 people who were living there were Jewish people. In 1911, the Jewish population was 45,000. 15,000 were Christians. 10,000 were Muslim. Only about 13% of the population. In 1922, you have the beginning of Muslim agitation over the land that's erupting. You have the harassment of prayer at the Western Wall. You have countrywide riots that take place. You have the Hebron massacre that takes place. And then in 1936, the Arab Higher Committee establishes and encourages increased disturbances. There's a general strike. And the recommendation is to petition Palestine. But when that recommendation comes forth, there's an immediate reaction on the part of the Arabs. There's, in fact, a revolt. And the death toll among Jews mounts up because they do not want it divided if it means, as the British intended, for the land on the west side of the Jordan to become a homeland, because all over the Zionist movement has begun, and all over the world, Jews are beginning to come back to the land. The Arabs say, no, you will not come back. That belongs to us. And so this anti-Semitic, no Jews on the land idea has been around for a long, long time. In 1948, Arab leaders encouraged Arabs to leave the land because they were going to purge the land of all Jews and claim it as an Arab state, and then it would be resettled. Jews would be wiped off the map, and this would be an Arab state. And of course, this is the goal. Sadly, this is the goal. 68% of all the Jews left in 1948, about 630,000. And but Israel won, and it did not become an Arab land. It became a Jewish land. But the Jews then made peace with the Arabs and allowed them to stay. They did not drive them out. The myth is that the Jews drove them out. No, the Arabs encouraged them to leave. And here's the deal. Those who were fleeing from the land in 1948 were not welcomed by their so-called Palestinian neighbors. On the other hand, the Jews who were fleeing persecution from around the world in the shadow of the Holocaust were welcomed into Israel in a slice of land about the size of New Jersey. The PLO charter from the very beginning has called for the destruction of the nation of Israel. There's a deep, dark history of anti-Semitic ideology that exists here, and it persists not only among the Arab Muslim communities, it persists around the world. This is the stone on which the nations of the earth will be broken, whether they bless or whether they curse Israel. There's a bigger thing going on here now than just Israel. There's something else happening here. Nations are being called by God to align themselves. Where will they stand? And this is setting up everything for the end time eschatological scenario.
Does your church need to jumpstart its prayer ministry? Consider a Prayer Impact Weekend with P. Douglas Small, teaching and preaching on prayer, meeting with potential prayer leaders, breakout sessions. 4 groups in your church must be open if your church is going to transition from a house of praise and preaching to a house of prayer for the nations. Find out which groups are included and the process of becoming a house of prayer for the nations. Each weekend is tailored just for your congregation. Dr. Small has traveled the world, impacting pastors and prayer leaders in more than 100 nations of the world. Call for more information, 704-938-9111. That's 704-938-9111. Check out projectpray.org website.